Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be covering from the Blitz section of the Grandchester SuperUnited Croatia tournament. It is Fabiano Caruana versus Nepomniachtchi. Fabi crushed the rapid section. He goes into the final 2 days of Blitz as the leader, and he also won some 40 rating points on the live ratings list of the rapid section, and he's now world number 2, second only to Magnus Carlsen. But in Blitz there are actually 5 players who are already rated over 2800, Nepo being one of them, as you can see, 2800 straight, then Dubov, Artemiev, Alireza Firuzja, and of course Magnus Carlsen, who is almost 2900. I think he's some 12 points shy of 2900, but Fabi also close to 2800. It's very interesting to see if he will be able to take this impressive performance from rapid into the Blitz section. So let's check it out. Clash of heavyweights. Fabi with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Nepo, pawn to c4, g6, and knight to f3. We have bishop to g7 and g3. So a standard King's Indian defense. We have castles, bishop to g2, and pawn to d5, transposing into the English opening. We have c captures on d5, knight captures, and now castles kingside. We have knight to c6, and now standard moves here are to challenge the knight, either by playing pawn to e4 or knight to c3. But Fabi throws in rook to e1, and this was never played before, and it is now, as of move 8, that we have a completely new game. So Nepo continues as you would if the knight was attacked, knight to b6, and Fabi goes e3, not pawn to e4. Of course, the d4 pawn is now hanging. We have pawn to e5, Nepo opens up the center, d captures, and we have a queen trade. Queen captures, rook captures, and knight captures on e5. Knight captures, bishop captures, and now, only now, knight to c3. Pawn to c6, limiting the power of the light square bishop, and now pawn to e4. You could also play pawn to f4 first, but both moves will be played eventually. Bishop to e6 and pawn to f4. And now Nepo could definitely consider bringing the bishop back to g7. There's nothing wrong with that, but he goes for bishop captures on c3. And this is a classic Nepo move. He gives up the bishop pair, which is not something everyone would do, but he will have 2 weaknesses here on the queen side that he will try to pick off. So b captures and knight to a4, of course going after the c3 pawn, the a2 pawn also being a little bit weak. So bishop to d2, or you could decide to give it up right away with something like bishop to e3, knight captures, and the rook to d3. Perhaps you even give up the a2 pawn, but then your rooks are extremely active. So maybe giving back material like this isn't the worst way to go about it. But bishop to d2 by Fabi. And now just rook f to d8. We have bishop back to e1, offering a trade of rooks, and Nepo says, alright, that's why I gave up the bishop pair, I want to claim material. Bishop captures on a2, and Nepo is now up a pawn, plus also he has more than double Fabi's time on the clock. Fabi 1 minute and 17 seconds, Nepo 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Rook to a1, and just bishop to b3, of course guarding the knight. We have rook to b1, attacking the bishop, and bishop to c2, seemingly giving the material back, but knight to c5 will go after the e4 pawn, which is already attacked. Okay, Fabi captures, we have knight to c5, rook to b2 attacking the bishop, and just bishop captures on e4. And okay, now it's time to decide, do you trade or do you keep the bishop pair with something like bishop to f1? Fabi decides to trade. Bishop captures, knight captures, and pawn to c4. And as Nepo is up a pawn, he has an outside pass pawn, he starts pushing it, pawn to a5. We have rook a2, of course you want to blockade that pawn at some point, pawn to a4. We have king to g2 and pawn to c5. This is maybe a little bit unnecessary, as on a light square it's never really a target. Here it can easily be picked off by bishop to f2, but I'm sure Nepo played it as he didn't want to invest too much time here. Fabi's already down to 36 seconds, so he wants to play on Fabi's time. King f3, pawn to f5, keeping the knight nicely placed there, and rook to a3. We have king to f7. Nepo starts bringing the king into the game. G4, trying to undermine the knight on e4. Knight to d6, going after the c4 pawn, and rook to a2. We have f captures on g4 with check, king captures, and knight captures on c4. But okay, now Fabi does have the f2 square for the bishop. He attacks the c5 pawn, and Nepo defends it. Rook a5, but Fabi attacks the rook. Bishop to e1. Rook to a6. Also, this is very important when you're wondering where to put the rook. The rook on a6 will prove invaluable, as you'll see. We have bishop to f2, pawn to h5 with check. We have king to f3 and king to e6, giving up the c5 pawn, but he will activate his king. So bishop captures on c5, king to d5, attacking Fabi's bishop, bishop back to b4, and king to d4. And now the position is difficult already as it is. Whether it's winning by force, it's hard to say. But after Fabi's pawn to f5 move, now the position is completely winning for Nepo. But there is only one move that wins the game. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Jan Nepomniachtchi while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing the fork. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight to e5 with check. Of course, now you see why. And for those of you wondering, if you capture, just king goes here and you start gobbling up the pawns. So it's essential to prevent the white king from doing that. Knight to e5 check, and now you cannot go forward. Of course, you can't go here, you can't go here, and if you go here, knight d3 check picks up the bishop on b4. Remember, the b4 square is reserved for pawns, not pieces most of the time. So after knight e5 check, king to g3, and now Nepo just helps himself to a free pawn. G captures on f5. And now what is Fabi to do here? Well, if he goes after the h5 pawn, which of course is possible, f4 comes. And after king captures on h5, knight d3 attacks the bishop, the f2 square covered by the knight. There's no defense here, just f3, f2, f1, and that's it. So after g captures on f5, bishop to a3 by Fabi, not a lot better, but, you know, maybe some chances here, but knight to d3. We have king h4, now pawn to f4, and bishop to f8, trying to contest the black king somehow. We have pawn to f3 and bishop to g7 check. Now Nepo plays king to e3, and now remember when I told you when the rook was attacked by the bishop on a5 that rook to a6 was such a spectacular move. If the rook wasn't on a6, if it was on a7 or on a8, then the bishop could come to h6 and deliver a check. And with the rook covering this second rank, the black king would have to go back, and maybe you could defend. However, here there is no more moves for Fabi. h6 is covered by the rook, and it was in this position on move 44 that Fabiano Caruana resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Spectacular game, beautiful masterclass by Nepo, taking down Fabiano Caruana like this, and this is his first loss of the event, even though, okay, he didn't lose any games in Rapid, but he loses his first game in the Blitz section, and Nepo once again shows why he is a 2800 when it comes to Blitz. Here, you resign because f2, f1 is unstoppable. Let's say play rook a1, pawn to f2, now knight e1 will block the rook to promote the queen. You can play rook f1, but then king e2 attacks the rook, and that's it, you resign here. So yeah, brilliant stuff by Nepo. We'll see what happens in the rounds to come, but for now, very, very good start. Of course, use that hashtag suggestion, as many games are being played. I'm checking them out as they are being played, but if I miss a brilliant one, you know, that's up to you. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Michael Hoff, Lawrence Brazier, Edward Bazo, Kevin O'Grady, and James Eugene Cashman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.